It's Talk Funny, a podcast by Mark Bailey and other comics from all over. We came to Japan to see old men arguing with female doctors, saying I saw a real doctor last year and he told me something different. Well, maybe you old guys need to travel back in time there then. The Talk Funny podcast from NagoyaRadio.com and Nagoya Comedy. Here's Mark Bailey.
Mark Bailey, Mike Miller on Talk Funny. So, Mike, one of my favorite comics, Nate Bergatze, and I do attribute it, and I just wanted to share, like my dad used to say, I know I've told this joke before, but I wanted to hear it again.
A good joke can be told many times, so it'll be funny.
But this is not my joke, it's Nate Bergatze, and when he was on Saturday Night Live, and he said, I don't read. Something about me, I'm from Tennessee, I don't read. And so, there was a book about Pearl Harbor, I never read it. I never read the history books. In the history textbooks, I never read them. So when I saw the movie Pearl Harbor, I was just as surprised as they were.
That's good.
Love
That's a good one.
Very
That's smart.
Mitch Hedberg.
That's a very smart joke. He's
Really
a very
good.
intelligent guy. Very, very intelligent.
He had another one, and he said, so what I'm trying to tell you is I don't read. And I forgot my joke because, I don't know, the guy is signaling. I do have some cue cards, but I don't read. So I guess we'll just go to commercial. But that's what we call a save. We've got to do Joe Coy.
Joe Coy, yes, Joe Coy and the Golden Globes.
So Joe Coy a couple months ago on the Golden Globes, and that comedy expert, Megyn Kelly.
She's an expert on everything.
Especially comedy.
Except on how to deal with her guests. She's excellent at, ruining punchlines. She's very good at that.
Andrew Schultz does not like her. She introduces.
What? No.
She goes, here's Andrew Schultz, and his funniest joke is this, yada, yada, yada. And then Andrew Schultz says, thanks, I worked on that for a year, but thanks for the spoiler. And she goes, but it's funny, though. And he goes, it'd be funny if only I told it.
Oh, my God.
And you didn't even tell it right. So Joe Coy, people are saying he bombed.
I heard so many bad things about this on the internet, and I was kind of on Reddit, of course.
From non-comics.
You're right. And they were saying, "Oh, it was so horrible, blah blah blah," and now he bombed. And the articles around the internet, about Joe Coy bombed. And then I listened to his monologue, his opening monologue, and I thought it was pretty funny, actually. Why is everyone pissing on Joe Coy?
There was a headline that said Joe Coy looked like he was having an aneurysm, which is kind of an insult to bald people. He's kind of balding.
And I take that personally.
Of course. He was self-deprecating.
He was good.
That was his act, I'm nervous.
Yes.
I only had 10 days.
He had 10 days. Give the man a break.
I don't know if you've seen my act, but sometimes you might see a guy and his vantage point, the comic, like me, is that things aren't going so well at home. It's kind of, so everything's going to be from that bird's perch. Viewpoint, vantage point. You've got a comic voice. Everybody has a comic voice. Mm-hmm. If you do it long enough. If you've been doing it as long as Steve Howard, you definitely. We love you, Steve.
We love you, Steve. We're kidding.
He's done 9 shows in 9 years. And he's missed 40% of us. Anyway.
No bitterness on Mark's part at all. No, not
I'm
bitter.
not keeping count.
He's not bitter. He's not counting.
I'm not
He's
taking
not bitter.
notes.
He's not bitter at all.
Notes.
No, not bitter at all.
I'm not taking notes.
No.
I paid you the 400 yen, right? I don't take notes.
I got paid 400 yen. I'm rich.
400 yen on top of
I'm English teacher rich, as we say.
400 yen on top of 1,000 from before, but not that
I appreciate it.
I don't count. I don't take notes. All right, so quick comedy meta lesson. Every comic, it also works for movies, for heroes. You're either a crazy person in a sane world or a sane comic in a crazy world.
Right.
Jim Carrey is crazy. The world is normal.
Right.
Robin Williams is crazy. The world is normal.
Mm-hmm.
Louis C.K. is normal. The world's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It's the world's effed up.
Yeah.
Bill Cosby, well,
we thought he was normal.
Thought he was normal.
We thought he was normal for a long time. Turns out he's not really that normal.
Turns out he was crazy. And then he's a crazy guy in a world full of women that are asleep.
That's right.
Yes.
Same with Louis C.K., except the women were awake.
He's like,
we love you, Louis.
All right, so
well, maybe I don't know. They'll love your work. That part of your work.
Okay, so that's vantage point. Let's do this from 10,000 feet up. Sam Kinison is an angry comic. He gets up and he doesn't like the way things are, and he doesn't understand why the way things are.
Yeah.
Then you got Emo Phillips, and he's kind of quirky. He's kind of weird,
and
he's
like
in a normal world.
Yeah.
Then and so when you get up, you do a set, especially if it's televised on TV. You got to decide what's your vantage point. His vantage point is, his theme is, I got this gig 10 days ago. So I'm a little nervous. I don't know if these are working. You guys are actors. You're not known for your sense of humor. That's the whole thing. That's if it was a movie, that would be the theme, right?
Yeah.
So Megyn Kelly was saying, I can't believe he was blaming his writers. Listen, you idiot. He didn't have writers.
Oh, God.
He didn't. I believe he did not have writers.
I think he might have had a few, but the thing he said, it was funny. He said, you guys are laughing at the jokes that I wrote and not the ones that writers wrote. There's that famous guy who writes for the Oscars. I forget his name. He's a gay guy. What's his name? He's very
gay
famous.
Guy in Hollywood?
Gay guy in Hollywood who's a comedian. Oh, my God. But there's this guy he's famous for writing. And so there are some very funny people that write for these award shows.
Well, Ricky Gervais wrote his own.
Of course he did.
His own. Jimmy Kimmel wrote his own, but he had 6 writers and 6 months to plan for it.
Of course.
And so when Joe Coy said...
And Adam Carolla has bragged about, punching up a lot of those sets. And I think Adam Carolla's got good... we're not huge fans of the podcast, but I think he's got comedic chops for sure. Like, he's good at what he does sometimes.
And Adam's not a fan of the 401.
What? The 401? Is there traffic jam on the 401 again? He doesn't like airports either. I've heard that.
No.
I don't know. And Bruce Springsteen? Well, he's divorced from his wife now, so I guess he doesn't have to talk about Bruce Springsteen anymore. But, hey... I used to be a listener. I used to love that podcast, and then I grew up.
So I heard Joe Coy was the last guy that they called. It's like being, picked.
Last pick, in the basketball game or whatever.
I heard they called Ari Shaffir, Bert Kreischer,
Segura. Like, no way.
Andrew Schultz. Nobody wanted to do it. They don't pay that much. It doesn't pay well.
No.
They already gave the bird to Ricky Gervais, and if he comes back, he's going to charge him 10 times.
Here's the thing. If they don't pay a lot of money... These comedians have everything to lose because, like Joe Coy,
if you bomb,
if you're seen to be bombing, even though your jokes are funny, that's going to be on your record. And Joe Coy, to his credit, he stood up and said, "Yeah, I'll give it a try."
Yeah, and so this is a meta comedy lesson. What he did was called a save. It comes from hockey. You're from Canada, you know.
Yes.
That. And when my save is I do my knees laying. When I tell a joke, and I know damn well it's funny. And I know why it's funny, but people just aren't in a good mood and they don't laugh, or they're not smart enough to get the joke.
Yeah.
So I get down.
Or
and
they're not.
it.
They don't understand the reference or whatever.
I get down and explain it, and basically.
And that's actually funny. That saves the joke.
Yeah. It's a save. It deflects. Otherwise, it'd just be a bomb, and I look like a loser. So every comic has his own kind of save.
Yes.
My favorite save from you. I bet you don't even remember, but we had a horrible November show.
You told me that, yeah. I don't even remember it because I was stream of consciousness, yeah.
And you said, a lady jumped in front of the train, and she was cold and unresponsive, kind of like this crowd tonight, which I really like.
I don't even remember saying that. Thank you. I'm glad you do, man.
And I use one that I got from Letterman. I don't consider saves to be plagiarism, except the knee-splaining is mine.
Yeah, it's your thing. I tried it once, and I was chastised for doing it, but I was very drunk at the time.
By Steve, because he's been doing it
Yeah,
forever.
Steve was telling me, no, you can't do that. You can't do Mark Spitz. No, I did it as a joke.
I know.
But I didn't mean it that way.
It was an homage.
It was an homage. That was it. I'm not going to do it. It's not my thing.
People don't realize. Now they're going to think what they're going to think.
That's it. No, I get it. I will never do it again.
They don't realize that. They've never been to our show before, so it's like, I like that. I don't like any of his jokes, but I like when he did that. That was mine. So my premise is that
the premise
is
the premise.
A save because Joe Coy's save because it worked because it's recent, and when people didn't laugh at our recent show, and I said, I got this gig 10 days ago. and it's funny because I'm the one that books the gigs.
Yeah, exactly. I got this gig 10 days ago. I got this gig 10 days ago, man.
Screw you guys.
Screw you.
I didn't write all these jokes. My writers helped me with these. The ones you laughed at are the ones I wrote.
Yes,
which is a great
he was good. He was good. I thought I loved the joke about Oppenheimer. I thought that was really good.
Could have been longer.
Could have been longer. I think you guys need another hour. That was great. And you could see what I forget the director's name. He's famous for he did Inception. But he was not happy. He was just looking, and even Robert Downey Jr. was like, I think the thing about actors is this: they look around the room, they're like, how are the other people on our production responding to this? And because actors are very good at, and one thing actors are very good at is they're good at judging how something is being received. And actors want to be in solidarity with their co-actors, right? And I get it. So they look around the room kind of like, how's everyone receiving this? And if no one's laughing, they're not going to laugh.
Am I still
That's the way it is. They're because they want to keep working. I mean, I don't blame them. There's a reason for that. That's not their job. Their job is not to crap on their own productions, right? So
the Letterman save that I sometimes use, and I don't consider using other people's saves generally to be plagiarism, because it's just a way to deflect. But Letterman's was, I would use it sometimes. I use it in Toyohashi, and I said, sorry you guys couldn't be here tonight, right? That kind of thing. Which he used.
It's a good one.
He used against Joaquin Phoenix.
Yes, and he wasn't there.
He was being
bizarre.
So, well,
but I don't know, maybe he was trying to be bizarre to get more attention, do you think? Or was he just in a weird mood? I don't know. He's a great actor. I love Joaquin Phoenix. He's great, but
So another Ricky Gervais, when he did the Golden Globes, Ricky Gervais, he had one, it wasn't a save, but he said, I like to drink as much as the next guy, as long as the next guy isn't Mel Gibson.
That was a great lead.
And Mel Gibson didn't like that joke.
Why he didn't like it?
Funny. Related to Joe Coy's joke, Ricky Gervais had a joke when he did the Golden Globes. And remember, The Irishman was the Scorsese, De Niro, Pacino movie.
Insanely long, like
right.
Oppenheimer.
So the premise of that joke was Gervais got on and said, well, The Irishman is up for a nomination, and I haven't finished watching it yet, but I started it a year ago.
That's good. I like that.
It's kind of another way of saying could have been longer. Could have been longer.
Look, I get it. I get why directors and producers want it to be long, because they want to tell the whole story. It's hard to tell a good story in like 100 minutes or 90 minutes. But at the same time, you got to realize there's this butt on seat factor. And I've been there. I was in Korea. You remember the King Kong remake with Jack Black?
Yeah.
I was in Korea and I was watching that. And after like 2 hours, I was like, these theater seats are good, but they're not that good. And I was like, I would really like to stand up right now. And and the thing in Korea at that time, people would flip open their phones, and they'd be like sending messages. I'm still in the movie. And you see these little lights come on, and I was like, yeah, maybe you should have ended your movie 20 minutes ago. But that's the difference between Korea and Japan. In Japan, this is I will say to anyone around the world, I will say this without reservation, going to a movie in Japan that's not a comedy is probably the best movie experience you'll ever have in your life, because everyone listens. They don't talk. They don't whip out their smartphones. They don't start doing things. But in a comedy, not so good.
Yeah, because you're the only one laughing.
You're laughing, and they're looking at you like you're insane.
Because the subtitles, it's an Eddie Murphy movie, or it's Trains, Planes, and Automobiles. When Steve Martin says in English, here's a tip. When you tell a story, try to have a point.
Yeah.
But in subtitles, it says, I don't understand your story.
Yeah.
So you're going,
and they're like, what?
Now you're like Robert De Niro in Cape Fear.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Hanging under the car.
My friend, who's in prison for murder.
Your ex-friend?
Yeah, I'm not suicidal, by the way. I'm not
Thank God.
suicidal.
I don't want any more trains delayed.
And so he would show Cape Fear when it was remade. It was brand new. Cape Fear with Nick Nolte
and De Niro.
And he would show that. There's a scene where Nick Nolte is wrestling the bad guy, the heavy, De Niro, in the river.
Right.
And De Niro temporarily drowns Nick Nolte. Eventually, Nick Nolte wins because he's the hero.
Of course.
But when De Niro drowns the hero of the movie, Bill the murderer, he said at the end to his students, and they were crying. Like, I don't understand this movie.
Whoa, it's almost like he's a psychopath.
The bad guy won?
Almost.
He goes, yeah, the bad guy won.
Wow. I would not suspect that from someone who killed his girlfriend.
No, but he had a family. He was the counselor. He was the counselor. He was the lawyer.
A man who takes pride in other people's suffering might be a killer. I never saw that one coming.
He turned that.
Really? Didn't see that one coming at all.
He turned it off 30 minutes before the movie ended because the hero died. That's the end for him. And he said, "That's the way I like it."
Oh, I like it. Sounds like a sane and very, very non-criminal person.
We're going to wrap it up soon, but these were hints to me that he was a psychopath.
Yeah, psychopath. Someone who gets off on other people's pain. Yeah, basically. Yeah.
And he likes effing with people. At Eon, where I started, we all had name cards. And so we would exchange name cards at these Eon greetings. He would take your name card, and the next time he met someone, he would use your name card to introduce himself.
That sounds, that sounds like someone would do that. Yeah, psychopathic. It's like, it's kind of, these people are funny when they're not killing other people, but when they're killing other people, not so funny anymore. You know what I mean? Like, they're kind of ruled. People, we kind of idolize people who are rules breakers. Oh, he's breaking the law. He's breaking the rules. But at the same time, a lot of these people are very mentally unhinged, and we should not idolize them at all.
Well, we romanticize anti-heroes like Tony Soprano.
We do.
But if you knew that was based on a real guy.
Oh, yeah.
And if you knew that guy.
You'd probably not like him.
And you walk around saying he's in the mob, he'll kill you.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I don't understand. You know, I get it. I get what people love criminals because they're transgressing the system. But at the same time, if you really know them, they're probably going to kill you. They're not nice people.
Yeah, Bonnie and Clyde.
Like, shocker. Oh, my God. I'm sorry I give it away the plot here. But, you know, come on. They're not the nicest people.
Bonnie and Clyde, it's a cool movie. They look cool. If they knew you, they would have robbed you and killed you.
Well, and here's the thing that some people don't realize who are outside Japan. A lot of people idolize the mafia here, the Yakuza, and the Yakuza will be like, they're very open to foreigners in a way that some other Japanese people might not be. And they'll be like, hey, let's go drinking. And I've heard these stories like when I was living in
because they're also outsiders.
Kyushu.
They're outsiders.
I heard this thing because they're outsiders like us. They have something in common with us. And I heard these stories in Kyushu one time. There's some people I knew who were kind of, they were out drinking, and they were in a sashimi place. And basically this guy came in and said, hey, sashimi on me. You have this, eat as much as you want. And it turned out this guy was a mobster. And they went drinking with him all night. He would love them. He was having the greatest time of his life, and they were having a great time. But they were like, afterwards, they were like, you know what? I don't think we should hang out with that guy again. And that is basically how it works here, is that you might meet someone who is of that persuasion. They love foreigners because foreigners are outsiders like them. They want to kind of just have a good time. And you can have a great time with those people, but you just don't want to associate with those people for the obvious reasons, right? You don't want to be accused of a crime. You don't want to be enabling a crime. You just want to, you want to live a normal life, right?
Mark Bailey, Mike Miller, how funny.